Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Double Double. So, pausing is power. Nap culture. Nap culture is super important and very common in other countries except America. So let's dig into that. So, like when your phone or laptop is running low on juice, you're gonna stop and charge it, right? So why not do this to yourself? Rest up and charge up midday. So it's a pretty common practice in other parts of the world outside of America. It's siesta in Europe and South America, Deskansa in Timor-Leste, Vakacequ in Fijian. Don't be mad at me for butchering this name, but I think Shui Wu Jiao in China. But yeah, these are all like forms of purposeful midday rest or naps in these cultures. And looking at different countries and their cultures, you kind of get a sense of how they conduct their work, do business, as well as their like pace of life. And it's really interesting looking on how other countries and people have napping culture. So this doesn't necessarily mean that these countries and cultures or people are lazier. It's actually the opposite. They like integrated napping as a within their culture to recharge. And from my travels to South America and Europe, stores would just be closed midday for like an hour or two. And they just encourage the workers to like go home, prepare a lunch, eat with their families, rest up, then come back and finish their work and all the rest of their duties for a few hours, and then they call it a day. So it's like it's really cool. It's a very different change pace compared to like the US, and it just seems like this is how humans are supposed to live. Like humans are not machines, and they're not supposed to operate at 24 hours per day at 100%. Like even our devices and computers and all these robotics, like they have a limited lifespan or a time span, and before they need to be charged. And while like heavy work culture in the US, they they're always on the go. You get about 30 to 60 minutes for a lunch break, probably closer to like 30 minutes. And yeah, if you're sleeping on the job, you get reprimanded for slacking off and oh, you're lazy. Or you can try and sleep during your break, but it's like that's kind of meant for like eating your meal, and going back to work. But yeah, this is such a unique experience of being abroad and learning about and partaking in these resting and napping cultures. So, for example, like when I was working in Fiji to go to a farm, like when we were doing a farm day or fishing with the village friends, like you would just go up to the fields and plant some cassava or do some weeding and removing some of the like what do you call it? Like weeds. Yeah, just uprooting the weeds. And yeah, it's you would go there, finish the work, eat lunch together, and then just take a nap. And it's actually such a fun thing to do, but I could not imagine like going out there and then not taking a nap because you're so drained after being in the out in the field in the sun, and then you're just even if you didn't take a nap, your performance wouldn't be very well. You wouldn't be very productive, and it just wouldn't be great, and your body would be all sore and tired. But if you take that rest, you have a little bit of time to recharge and finish go back to the field and finish up all your duties that you need to do out there. And I think a lot of companies could benefit from a nap culture too, like for companies that want better results and happier employees. I think the pretty obvious solution here is to implement naps within an organization. It is a proven model between from other countries and other like people around the world, both developing and developed countries. They do have a nap culture, so it works. There will be some backlash initially because change is hard. And to implement lasting change within a company, you could use a popular framework called the Kotter's 8-step change model. So these are 8 steps that you could follow to implement lasting change within a company. standard business school like framework. Create urgency, a clear, powerful narrative that captures the need for change. Two, build a coalition, a passionate, diverse group to carry the change through. Three, develop a vision, the ability to manage feelings to achieve goals. Four, communicate the vision, define and clearly communicate the change. Five, or empower others to act, enable business to define, plan, and carry out the change. Six, short term wins. Focus on enabling and promoting short term wins across the organizations. Seven, consolidate. Keep the momentum going and consolidate gains across the organization. And eight, anchor change. Integrate the change into the culture, systems, and process and make it stick. So, yeah, to implement something like this, I think you would have to look at the current situation of the company as well. So, if it's a small or a big company, you're going to have to take that into account. So, like startups or like very progressive companies, they might have something like this already. Like smaller startups and yeah, small, just basically smaller companies because you can make change a little bit quicker. They're a little bit more agile when it comes to these things. And employees who value this type of work will probably be attracted to those sort of companies. And you have to think of like a medium or smaller size companies. Yeah, it would just be easier because it's just smaller, less people to deal with. And for traditional like legacy companies, like large big corporations, they might have a more challenging time to implement something like this because they're a little bit more sluggish. There's more people in the chain of command, more management. Probably management is a bit more hesitant to see change, and yeah, just general culture of that company. Think of like industries like banking, law, the military. It's not impossible to make change within an organization like this, like those, but their current structure and culture definitely can make it a little bit more challenging in order to create change or for them to adopt these new like ideas, like implementing a nap culture. But so there's a book that I really enjoyed. It's kind of like a change management book. I think it is, but it's very lighthearted and very fun. It's called Fish, and yeah, it's just really fun to read about. And they just basically started implementing positivity, and they took inspiration from the Pike's Place market in Seattle, where the salmon vendors were like throwing the salmon in the air, and it's kind of like a spectacle. It's kind of like a show because they really do just like somebody ordered a salmon, they'll throw it across, and then the other like fishmonger catches it and wraps it up and gives it to the customer. So I do think it is an important thing to look at other things, to get inspiration and learn from many other things other than your own domain, from other things and other people, and that have different ideas than the things that you already know. You know what I mean? But yeah, so if you like surround yourself with like a certain group and only interact with that certain group, it kind of just becomes an echo chamber, and you only hear the things you already know. So it could be beneficial to go out of that group from time to time, to look outside of that circle and then look at things from a different angle or from a different perspective to get new ideas and to expand your horizons and thoughts. So yeah, basically to like cross train, so using like sports as an example, let's say like an MMA athlete, they're most likely going to not be fighting at a fight night pace every single day while they're training, and they'll probably be cross training. So there is a, what is it, and a saying for like coaches, you practice how you play, or no, you play how you practice, or it's something along those lines. Yeah, the idea is the effort that you put in during practice is how you perform during the game night. And it works in a sense a little bit, but not in every single context, because you're not going to be going all out every single time at practice. Let me go back. So for like an MMA fighter, right, they're gonna be cross training, and they're gonna implement something like cardio, or like different forms of cardio, like running, cycling, rowing, uh, like jump rope, and they're gonna implement also some sort of weight training, maybe, or some resistance training, like squats, doing some band work or weightlifting. Uh, yeah, something to complement their strengths and something to cover their weaknesses, so they're a more like overall like better athlete. And they'll have some techniques too, some technique training, whether it's striking, grappling, wrestling, and just so they're exposed to all these other things through cross training, and they have to get all these different perspectives on cardio, on weight training, and on technique. So yeah, they're getting a lot of different things, and then strategy in the mental game too. So there's just so many different things that they have to think of while they conduct and like work on their sport and their craft. So yeah, at the end of the day, they're just taking all of these activities, and then at the end of the day, it's this thing that they created, and that's their technique, their skill set and their knowledge of the sport, with their conditioning and everything all into one. And it's not all of them. It's not all the time going all out every single day. It's a combination of everything. So yeah, let's wrap up all these wacky ideas now. So nap culture, it's a pretty big part in other countries, both developing and developed. They're not lazy. They're not lazy people, and they're not lazy countries. They are probably just as productive, and probably even more productive than the hustle culture that is so prominent in the U.S. But yeah, the people are just more refreshed and a lot happier because they're just happier because they took the nap. They're not on stress all the time. They recharge their batteries, and they're ready to take on the day. And I think companies should definitely add some sort of napping culture within their organization, because first of all, it doesn't cost anything. You just give your employees 30 more minutes or an hour of their time back, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. So try and add 30 minutes after their lunchtime, and the workers will probably be happier and more rejuvenated after their naps. But yeah, and then if you actually want to implement this, look at the Kotter's 8-step change model. If you're working at an organization or a manager who wants to work and implement napping culture within their group or team. But yeah, I would say just keep an open mind and learn from other people in other countries, and just see how they conduct their lives, and keep an open mind and just see what the world has to offer. It really might surprise you. So yeah, let me know if you have partaken in a siesta or one of these midday nap cultures. And if you do that, let me know. I think it's a really fun thing. And yeah, let me know where you traveled. Send me a DM on our Instagram at Big Dawgs Gotta Eat blog. Thanks again for watching this episode or listening to this episode of Double Double. Thanks again.